worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Wander, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Wander, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. My name is Aria Curtis. I'm the Interim Director of Children and Family Ministry here. We're glad to have you with us. If you're one of our longtime members or have been here for a short time, or if you're joining us here for the very first time, we're delighted to have you. We'd also like to say a special welcome to those of you joining us online through our streaming website. Welcome to everyone. Before we greet one another, I'd like to invite up Reverend Todd Eckloff to share a few words with us.
Good morning. I have just a few announcements that I wanted to remind you about before we go into what is really going to be a wonderful service. I'm going to really enjoy it. First of all, another reminder that next Sunday is our annual meeting. Please be here for that. We have some bylaw changes and a budget to pass and some new officers to elect, so appreciate you being here for that. And also the Safer Spokane organization, which started in this church, which is trying to get an initiative on the ballot that would allow us as a community to put some regulations on the passage of hazardous fossil fuels through our community. Has received gotten the number of signatures it needs, and they'll be submitting those soon, so congratulations to everyone who's contributed in some way to that effort. We still would like to get a lot more signatures to be on the safe side and also to make a better statement. And one of the last opportunities to really do that is going to be next Saturday during the Pride Parade, or prior to the Pride Parade downtown. So yeah! All right. Show your excitement. So if you would be willing to be a signature gatherer prior to the start of that parade by showing up about an hour early, please see Pat Wappenberg. Where's Pat's back there? And in the after service, she'll be at a table and you can sign up for that. But we could just use a few more signature gatherers. And if you've gathered any and haven't turned them in yet, no matter how small your list, please turn those in soon. So that's next week. On Thursday, Roy Zimmerman. If you haven't heard Roy Zimmerman, he's an incredible comedic songwriter, a very liberal, progressive songwriter who's one of the more talented musicians I've ever heard. Been coming here, this will be his third time. So this Thursday at 7. Tickets are suggested donation of $20 at the door. He donates some of that back to the church. But this is going to be not only entertaining, but it is such catharsis to listen to him and his wonderful songs in this odd age we live in. So I highly encourage you to be here and help give Mr. Zimmerman the audience that he deserves. And then finally, there is a Spokane Alliance listening session today at 12:30 in the Throw Room, and this is our opportunity as a congregation to come together and discuss a little bit, share a little bit, those priorities we think as members of the Spokane Alliance that we would like to see all the member organizations concentrate on in the coming months. So I hope that you will participate in that as well at 12:30 in the Throw Room. Now, the The real reason that I wanted to have a few moments this morning, however, is because you'll notice that our unity candle is lit at the front of our service, which of course means that one of our own members has passed away during the week. I shared with you last week that Mickey Thompson was suddenly admitted to the hospital after suffering a stroke, went into hospice care soon thereafter, and Mickey passed away on Thursday morning. So, yeah, I know it comes as a shock, and I'm very sorry that we didn't have an opportunity to say goodbye. Everybody I talk to says, boy, Mickey always had a great smile. Truly one of the friendliest people I've ever known. And really, really going to miss Mickey, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to say goodbye. Please keep Dorothy in your hearts at this time. She and the entire family grieves his loss and feels it most. Mickey, we're going to miss you. Love you. Thanks for all you've meant in our lives.
Now, please take a moment to meet and greet those around you. Please especially welcome those who are We'll have more time to greet one another and share our stories during social hour after the service, which includes great coffee and good conversation. Today's service is a bit of a special one. It is our bridging service. As is traditional, it has been planned by our senior high youth with special input from our graduating seniors. Totally lost my place. As Unitarian Universalists, this is one of our primary rites of passage, and bridging ceremonies have been incorporated into the UU faith tradition in a variety of contexts since 1996. As is the case with Unitarian Universalism, the bridging ceremony is a living tradition, and it has evolved over the years to meet the needs of bridgers and their communities. But there are some commonalities throughout. You will see a variety today in a ceremony planned with the help of Eric and Parker and their peers. I'd also like to point out that this morning's service is an intergenerational one. That means that there are a variety of ages involved in the service itself, and that our children and youth are invited to stay with us here in the sanctuary to worship. Grown-ups, I invite you to embrace the extra kid noise that might occur. I would also like to say that this service and the ceremony that is a part of it is for all of our congregation to witness and participate in. However, I recognize that sitting and listening quietly for this length of time is pretty tough for everyone. With that in mind, the children's social hour table in the back of the sanctuary is set up with books and quiet activities. You will also find a coloring page in your order of service, and there are some paper cups in the back of the sanctuary that you're welcome to bring to your seat. The fidget basket is up here at the front, and anyone is more than welcome to join us up here on the cushions at any point during the service. Now, I'd like to invite Rachel Boos forward to do our chalice lighting.
We light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth is lost, and a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it has been found.
Just as a note, I want you to be aware that the songs chosen today were also coming from the youth group, and I'm particularly tickled that they chose this one, You'll Never Walk Alone, because I sang it when I was 20 years old in the Coeur d'Alene Summer Theater when I was in that troupe over there. So I already know all the words, and I'm sure many of you know them too. So would you please stand to help me sing You'll Never Walk Alone? When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk
So, for our story for all ages today, we decided it would be very fun if we told stories about our two graduating. So, my first story today is about Eric Booth. And it's about, as a lot of our youth group stories are, a game of sardines. I don't know if you've ever played sardines before, but it is an overnight staple of our senior high youth group overnighters. So to play sardines, everyone is in one room, and we've set where the boundaries are in the church, and we've turned off all the lights, and one person goes out and they hide. And then everybody else goes out, and we're just using flashlights, and you're looking around to try and find them. And once you've found the person who's hiding, you go and you sit next to them. And then another person will find you guys, and they'll sit next to you until the last person will just find a clump of people sitting really close together like a bunch of sardines. And that's how you play the game. So I was hiding with at least Eric and his sister Rachel in one of our RE rooms. And it has a little bathroom so that some of the younger members of our congregation don't have to go out and around, and they can just use it there. And Eric was squatting because we're trying to hide behind a wall, and he slips and he flushed the toilet. And Rachel is losing it. And Eric is trying to be stoic like he often is, but he's losing it, and I'm losing it. And needless to say, that was one of the shortest rounds of sardines I ever remember playing, because we were found pretty soon thereafter. And then before I tell my story about Parker, you need to know a little background about Parker as a person. And Parker is very independent. And when he doesn't like something, or he thinks it's kind of stupid, he will let you know what he thinks. And Parker has lost chair privileges in the past because he'll be sitting back in his chair, leaning back, and then the RE teachers will be saying, Parker, you need to have 4 on the floor. Has anyone ever been in elementary school and had their teacher tell them to put 4 on the floor? It's a common saying. So Parker was told to put 4 on the floor, and he wailed for less than 5 minutes, and then he's leaning back in his chair again. And so there have been times when we were playing games or board games, and the rest of us are sitting, but Parker had to stand because he'd proven he wasn't responsible enough to sit in a chair. So I tell you this so that you can kind of understand that Parker does what Parker wants. So about a year ago, I decided that I wanted to try and make a little promotional video for the coffee cart, and I wrote a whole script, and it was cheesy, and it was great, and not a lot of people showed up that day. I like to think for different reasons. But Parker did. And so Parker puts on the apron, and he goes through, and he records all these scenes. And he didn't want to be there, and he didn't want to be doing it, and he let me know what he thought. But he did it anyway. Even though he didn't want to be there, he knew it was important to me. And so he continued to put up with all my directing and redoing scenes that he thought was fine. And that was one of the sweetest things he's ever done for me. So thank you, Parker, for that. Those are 2 of my favorite memories of Eric and Parker over these last few years I've gotten to know them.
We now gratefully receive this morning's offering.
Each time we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts, and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindle light this morning for them. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are in our hearts this morning. You are welcome to say their names aloud as you are willing. Those named aloud and those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion.
Later in our service today, we're going to learn about these roses in front of us and their significance. And also, it's so beautiful outside right now. And for that reason, our meditation today is going to center around flowers. So I invite you to get comfortable however that looks, whether it has your eyes closed or just resting. And I want you to imagine yourself as a flower. Are you a lilac or an iris or a tulip or a rose? Are you like me and you haven't fully grown into who you will be? You might even just be a tiny sprout. Or maybe you're a little older and you're starting to droop under so many petals that come with so much knowledge and years. Are you somewhere in the middle? Now would be an excellent time if you've been sitting for a while and you're feeling a little fidgety. You can reach up like the flower you are, or you can sway in the wind. You can bend, you can twist. Whatever you need to get out right now, now would be a great time to do that. Whatever kind of flower you are, we are so happy to have you be a part of our bouquet.
I'd like to invite the Reverend Todd Eckloff forward for a short homily.
Thank you, Aria. I was asked to say a few words about what it means to be an adult. Like I would know. So anyway, as I started to think about it, I realized I could really do an entire sermon on this, particularly because I love developmental psychology so much, but because Aria said short homily, I'm just going to really emphasize the points that I think are really most important. And congratulations to Eric and Parker for sure for this milestone in your lives. But I think this is something all of us can reflect upon. for reasons I will begin with, really, that one of the things that makes our species so unique is that we never really do mature. We are a species that continues to grow and to evolve and to develop throughout our entire lives. We are really the infant ape. We're like gorillas and chimpanzees and orangutans, but we never grow up. And this means that we retain some of those juvenile characteristics throughout our entire lives. So scientists like the famed anatomist Louis Bolk once wrote that the human being is a primate fetus that has become sexually mature. How does that make you feel? And Stephen Jay Gould simply said that the human baby is still an embryo. We're still an embryo when we're born. And the advantage to being born premature is that our brains can keep growing for many, many years afterward. They don't actually reach full size until we're in our mid-20s. But even then they retain neuroplasticity, meaning that they can continue to change for as long as we live. It's an amazing species. And this means that we don't have to become rigid in our thinking or get stuck in our ways. Because as human beings, we can keep growing, we can keep learning, we can keep discovering and changing and unfolding throughout our entire lives. So I hope that you don't ever lose your sense of wonder. Don't be afraid to change, and know that there is always more to be known. Next on my list is executive function and empathy. That's something that every parent in the room is relieved to hear me saying, I'm sure. Because these are the two operations of the frontal lobe, which is the last part of the brain to really reach its full size in our mid-20s. Executive function means the ability to think ahead before we act. It gives us risk aversion so that we don't take unnecessary risk. And it also is the area in which we have empathy, in which we're able to recognize and feel the emotions that others are feeling. And therefore, we have the ability to think before we act and also consider how our actions might impact others. And I know that you both in particular already have these skills, but in the next few years they're going to become much more central to your mindset and to how you operate in the world. Being an adult means thinking about the consequences of our actions and being concerned about how our actions might impact the lives of others. In short, means what your parents have been saying your whole lives: act responsibly. Another superpower that's about to become central to your life is what I call portability. During our lives, we pass through several stages. In the first stage, when we're very young, is what I call the stage of hearth and home. It's when, as little children, we identify most with being part of our family, with people like our parents or our siblings or our other relatives. It's the time in our life where we should feel the most safe and secure and loved. But there's always something there, even then, reminding us that there's more. That the world is calling us forth. Maybe it's just our parents or caregivers leaving the house every day to go to work, telling us that there is something else out there in the world we're supposed to be doing. Something more important than hearth and home. More important than that security and love that holds us, where when we're old enough, we have to go there too. We have to fly the coop, as they say. The next stage, as we get a little older, is what I call the chum stage. The point in our lives where we begin discovering more about who we are, our own identity, through the relationship with our peers and with our friends, with people who aren't a part of our immediate family. And sometimes having friends outside the family creates a little conflict at home because it's hard for our parents to let go of complete control over us in their hope to always keep us safe. And that conflict itself is part of what helps us grow and separate. Because we say, man, I got to get out of here. But portability, the skill that you are on the precipice of obtaining, one of the most important and precious life skills you will ever know, is that all the qualities that make you you are not dependent upon any specific relationships. You can take yourself anywhere, into any situation, among friends or strangers, and you will still be you, with all your values and minds and feelings wrapped up inside you. It doesn't matter where you are or with whom, because you are you. Who you are no longer depends on who you are with. Become portable. Being mature means being yourself, wherever, with whomever you are. And this leads to the final point that I want to make, which is my request to you. As Unitarian Universalist, we have strived to create a community in which you have been free to be and to become yourselves. This is because, as I know you know, we prize the worth and dignity of every person and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning above almost anything else. Yet today, our greater society doesn't seem to care as much about these same values. Too many people seem to think that it's okay to silence and shut down those with whom we disagree. On college campuses, I see students hoarding together to prevent people that they disagree with from speaking, or calling for the termination of professors they think are wrong. I hope that wherever you are, with whomever you are, that being a Unitarian Universalist will go with you, and that you will remember to put into practice what you've learned in this church, that everyone should have the right to speak freely, even those, especially those, whom you disagree with the most. Just because we think we are right does not make us righteous, and just because we feel righteous is no excuse for persecuting others by saying that they don't have the right to speak, or to be heard, or to work, or to exist, or to live freely. Don't publicly protest the values of others that you disagree with, because that's easy. Do the hard thing by publicly demonstrating your values. Show us what compassion and justice and equality are supposed to look like. For you are Unitarian Universalist, and you have learned how to respect others and to value the freedom for all, and how to think for yourself and not simply go along with the crowd. And now, as you move into that next stage of your life, portability, you can take these values with you wherever you go, with whomever you are. Bless you both on your journey.
Now, I would like to invite Ariel and Elizabeth Fitzgerald forward.
We're going to start by reading a few excerpts from Oh, the Places You'll Go, which I'm sure you'll see a lot of, and probably already have in the past few weeks and continue to.
Congratulations! Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. And you're on your own. And you know what you know. and you are the guy who will decide where you go. Oh, the places you go, there's fun to be done, there are points to be scored, there are games to be won, and the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you'll play against you. But on you will go through the weather, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are.
Eric is one of the most driven and exacting youth I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Be it winning at a game, destroying an argument, or putting away a board game, just right. Eric knows exactly how he wants to do everything. He often seems to be the definition of driven, propelled, operated, and controlled by his own force. He will go so far. With his drive, he can go anywhere. Eric, hold on to that drive. It will take you to all the places you want to go. But from time to time, give yourself a moment with no direction or goal in mind. Give yourself the gift of unstructured. I have no doubt that you will accomplish everything.
Thank you, you too. So I'll just start right into this. I've done a lot of graduating recently, and I only have more graduating to do. And throughout all of the end-of-year ceremonies and the ceremonies to come, the common theme has been family. And this church, this congregation, although I might not have spent as much time here as I would have liked, has influenced some aspect of each and every team, each and every group, each and every family that I have had the privilege to be a part of over these last years. And I want to tell you about some of that influence. I'm going to start on Thursday night. This past Thursday was the Lewis and Clark High School Drama Department's closing night showcase, which is also a celebration of the end of the season and a goodbye to all of our graduating seniors. And fittingly, the theme for the 2016-2017 season was family. So it featured 3 shows that were all about creating a family, no matter where you go and no matter what circumstance you find yourself in, which strikes me as a very you thing to do, to go out into the world and create family, like Todd talked about with portability. And in theater, we talk a lot about making a connection, telling a story. And it's not just connecting with our audience, it's connecting with our fellow actors on stage and connecting with the characters who we are becoming. And connection is one of the biggest things that I will remember about this congregation. And I want to tell you the story of the first connection I remember making at this congregation. About 10 years ago, I was 7 or 8, one of my first memories of the church was going to Camp Starwheel and being in the cardboard boat race. And I had this fantastic boat, probably the best cardboard boat I've ever built to this day, and that's because my dad did half of it. All right, more than half. But it was this big hulking cardboard boat made from a refrigerator box, painted red and blue, looked really cool, and I remember I called it the X-Shark. I was 8. This boat was so big, I could barely get my arm over the side to row the thing. And my sister was too small, and she couldn't reach over the side, so I needed someone to help me row it. And in the end, Will Petro, who graduated last year, ended up in the back of the boat helping me row. And we got in the boat, ready. I was so excited to be rowing this boat, this thing that I was so attached to, across this 20-foot stretch of water inside the dock. But I was so excited, and we get in the boat, and we start off, and we immediately crashed into the wall. And then we continued to crash it into the wall all the way for the 20 feet until the boat sank. And I had never really met Will before he'd gotten in the boat. And I remember we were just so happy to be paddling this boat, paddling for our lives to get this boat across this 20-foot stretch of water before it sank. We didn't care that we were smashing this beautiful thing into a wall consistently over and over, and we didn't really care that we hardly knew each other. We made this connection in this moment of joy. And that kind of connection has stuck with me throughout my years in this congregation, because it's something that didn't just happen that once. It's something that seems to me to be such a crucial part of this church community, making those connections in moments of joy. And it's not just making connection in moments of joy that I remember from this congregation. It's also a value of searching to connect and understand. This past Friday, the Lewis and Clark Speech and Debate team held our end-of-year banquet, again, to celebrate the season and to say farewell to the seniors. And that team, that speech and debate team, really is a big family. And I mean big. There's about 70 people on the team all told. But we all have each other's backs, even if we are at each other's throats pretty much every morning. And you can talk to anyone who's been involved with the youth programming over these past years, and they will tell you that Parker and I argue a lot. We love to argue, and we can be at each other's throats, but it will always come back to this idea of, just explain to me where you're coming from. I want to understand why you are saying what you're saying, why you think that is the best answer. And sometimes even, okay, where do we go from here? What do we do to fix this? How do we act on this information? And I know that we both value this want for understanding, but I couldn't originally place where we get it from. We don't get it from debate, because in a debate round, you don't go into the round trying to understand what your opponent's saying. You want to beat them. You're trying to end out winning. And I realized that want for understanding comes from the values of this church. Comes from everything we've learned as part of this congregation. Because the UUs are all about seeking understanding and truth and justice. And I don't know if that made me better at winning debate rounds, but I certainly appreciate the want to understand and to be able to have dialogue and understanding within a debate. And I thank everyone in this congregation for passing along those values to me. But finally, possibly the biggest impact that this congregation will have on me is as I move forward into the future. This fall, I will be attending the University of San Diego, which is a Catholic institution, and they have a beautiful cathedral on campus. Very tempting to go visit that cathedral on Sundays and see what they have to say. And I know, moving into a religiously uncertain future, I know that I can worship the way the UUs worship. And this kind of soul searching about what my future will be worship-wise takes me back to a trip I took in 8th grade as part of the Religious Education's Neighboring Faiths program. We went to the Sikh temple, and I remember they are very much about seeking understanding and everyone worshiping in their own way, the way that is best for them. And I feel that that's very reflective of what this UU community wants. And so as I go forward out into the world, I know that even if I'm not worshiping at a UU church, I know that I can still worship the way the UUs want, which is all about finding understanding and openness and acceptance and fighting for truth and justice in the world. And it's these ideals that have come from this congregation that have shaped me to be the way that I am today. So thank you to everyone for being a part of this congregation and for helping me grow as a person.
You'll get mixed up, of course. As you already know, you'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98 3/4% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So, be your name Bucksbaum or Bixie or Bray or Mordecai Ali Van Allen O'Shea, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.
Parker is one of the most relentless debaters I've ever had the pleasure to endure. Experience. For him, no subject is too sacred to pick apart, and the ideas are driven to their limits. His ability to look at things from different angles constantly pushes those around him to dig deeper into their own beliefs. This is his gift, and I can't wait to see where it will take him. Parker, our time with you has been invigorating. No other youth has pushed me to defend my every belief, and mine are stronger because of you. While out in the world, take your time to remember that your ideas are valued, your drive for truth is important, and that sometimes it's okay to be wrong. So go out, challenge the world, and don't forget that you always have a home here.
Good morning. I have more of a personal message than a personal story I'd like to share with you today. And that message, which I've picked up here at the Unitarian Universalist congregation and outside in the world through books and through any other medium I've come across, has been that struggle begets meaning. Now, I'd like to share a few stories that illustrate this. The first story comes from a book written by Arthur Brooks of the American Enterprise Institute. And he details the story of the most successful program that picked up the lives of men and women who are formerly homeless in New York City. Their program was, instead of offering people who just got out of jail, people who are suffering from addiction, people with all of these struggles going through their lives, instead of offering them things, what they offered them was the opportunity to work, the opportunity to struggle. When someone would get there, they would first start off with what is called pushing the bucket. which is where they would literally have a bucket and a mop, and they, every day for 90 days, would wash the streets of New York. And this program was successful because it allowed for the individuals who it was goals of helping to have a meaning, to have a place in their life where they were valued. Instead of people looking past them walking down the street, people would stop and wave and say hi because they know that they were helping their community. There's another story that illustrates this. That comes from the popular Netflix television show House of Cards. You engage in the transition. Now, House of Cards is a show about a Machiavellian protagonist, Frank Underwood. Now, in the first season of House of Cards, Frank is negotiating with the teachers' union, and he's trying to get the teachers' union not to strike. And so they're negotiating about all of these policy wonk things. There's charter schools, there's school vouchers, there's admission standards to college. There's a whole bunch of different policy things. And so Frank asks the lady on the other end of the telephone to, okay, run me through the details again. And she starts to talk, and he mutes her. And that's because it doesn't actually matter what Frank Underwood was arguing about. All that mattered was that Frank Underwood was arguing and that he was engaging in a struggle. It was the meaning of the struggle that gave the story value, as opposed to it being the, well, what specific policies is he pushing? The message from this is that it is the struggle and the story that is interesting and not the outcome. I'm sure everyone here gets mad when someone spoils a book that they're reading. It's because if we wanted to know the end, we would look at the end of the book. But that's not why we read fiction. We read fiction for the stories. And the stories are engaging in that process of moving through the author's perspective, watching the characters develop, watching what happens, seeing how they react to perilous circumstances and unforeseen challenges. It is in the struggle to find what to do in the face of uncertainty that brings life meaning. On a more personal note, I have a struggle of back when I was in sophomore year of high school. Now, both me and Eric were in debate, and in my sophomore year, we had this last chance tournament. And the goal there was if you did well, then you could go to state debate. And like, whoa, state debate is great. I didn't go sophomore year. Yeah, that was unpleasant. But it gave me something to struggle towards, something to strive towards, a goal that needed to be accomplished. And I would like to draw that parallel to what happened this year. This year, my senior year, I won a tournament, and it's like, whoa, that's great. And after the first few minutes of elation, it dawned on me that nothing really happened after that. That arriving at a goal is not where the value arrives. It is through the struggle of finding what that goal is. And so, as we move forward, I would like to talk about how the Unitarian Universalist faith brought this to a head. It was in, as Libby and Ariel mentioned, the vigorous conversations, that meaning was established. Then it was through the vigorous conclusions. Conclusions are boring. It's the stories that are truly moving. And so I'm going to be moving forward to Eastern Washington University. And there I'm an economics major. And the reason why struggle finds meaning there is that there's this field called choice architecture. And choice architecture is where you design the systems in which people make choices. And there are different ways of configuring systems to achieve different goals and achieve different outcomes. But in all of these options, we still leave the individual with the ability to make choices. And so it is in the meaning that is the goal of designing these systems, which is to allow individuals to push through the struggle of their actions to achieve their goals they're trying to solve. And so, if I am to conclude, my time here has been a tremendous amount of fun. And I look forward to all the excitement and all the joy that comes from adulthood. Thank you.
I'm very excited to introduce our special music this morning from a special choir. Bridges is written by Bill Staines, and this arrangement is by Equinox, which is a Bellingham a cappella music group, and it speaks to both our Unitarian values and the transition to.
There are bridges, bridges in the sky, and they are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire, and they can change two things to one. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and awe. They are love and understanding, and they are better than a wall. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and awe. They are love and understanding, and they are better than a wall. Now there are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they are oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they are oh so very wide. So let us build a bridge of music, let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us right another wrong. Or if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way.
As I said earlier, the bridging ceremony marks an important point of transition in the lives of our youth. I'd like to begin our ceremony with this reading from Jeff Liebman. The bridging ceremony celebrates the transition of our youth from their high school experience into young adulthood. It is a time of tremendous change and stress for our youth. It is a time when many of them will leave our particular church community to travel to other cities, into higher education, into careers, and possibly into new families. The bridging ceremony is a rite of passage that welcomes these bright and energetic people into the rewards and responsibilities of adult life. The bridge has two sides. One is childhood and adolescence, where they have become leaders and role models for their younger friends and acquaintances. The other side is a scary and vast frontier of the unknown, full of boundless opportunities and new challenges. We, the adult members of this church community, also stand on the other side. We stand on the other side with our arms open to welcome them, our minds prepared to mentor and learn from them, and our hearts prepared to share life together with them. I'd like to invite Eric Boos, Parker Burchett, and their families forward to the dais. The following words come from the Bridging Handbook and were written by Gail Forsyth Vale and Jessica York. When we welcome people at the beginning of childhood into our community, we often do it by giving them roses, tightly closed buds on stems from which the thorns have been removed. The buds are symbols of life just beginning, whose unfolding we will experience petal by petal, just as they will. The thornless stems are vivid images of our intent to protect the children of our church family from all that could be hurtful to make their path smooth as their lives unfold. The youth before us here today are at the other edge of childhood, and it is fitting once more to use those symbols, those images from the past to speak to them and to ourselves of what is to come. Again, a rose. Not the tight bud of babyhood now, but a larger, more vividly colored rose, closer to opening into a full and glorious flower. The stem this time is not so carefully stripped of thorn. We can no longer hold away the hurts and dangers of adulthood any more than we can keep this rose from opening.
Along with the roses, we also have symbolic bookmarks. For a long time, we've had a partner church in Felshiracos. The youth-run coffee cart has and continues to pay for internet to that village, and this connection is an important part of being a UU youth in this congregation. Graciously, the women of Felshiracos have handmade these bookmarks as a reminder that you have friends in faraway places and are welcome there anytime. These bookmarks encourage you to continue learning and to become a global citizen.
The story of how the flaming chalice became our symbol begins during World War II. During the war, Unitarians, Jews, and others living in Eastern Europe were in danger of being imprisoned or killed by Nazi soldiers. A group of Unitarians in Boston formed the Unitarian Service Committee to combat this. Their plan was to aid those in danger from the Nazis. The director of the Service Committee, Unitarian minister Charles Joy, was in charge of a group of secret messengers who worked to find safe routes for people to escape. Reverend Joy and his assistants often needed to ask governments and other organizations for their help to save people in danger. Because they were a new organization, they were relatively unknown, which made it much harder to get the help they needed. In addition, people trying to escape and those who wanted to help often didn't speak the same language. Reverend Joy decided it would be much better if the service committee had an official symbol, so that it wouldn't matter if people couldn't read the language. Reverend Joy worked hard with Hans Deutsch, an artist who had escaped from the Nazis in Paris. Deutsch was hunted because he drew illustrations depicting how evil the Nazis were. For the service committee drawing, Deutsch borrowed an old symbol of strength and freedom from Czechoslovakia, a chalice with a flame. The service committee felt the new symbol showed the real spirit of the Unitarian religion. A chalice was used to give a healing drink to others, and the flame was used to represent a spirit of helpfulness and sacrifice. The flaming chalice became the official symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee. One very old woman told how the flaming chalice of her Czechoslovakian homeland helped her while she was in a Nazi prison. Printed under the picture of the flaming chalice was the motto, Pravda Vitezi, which means in English, truth overcomes. Every single morning in the camp, the old woman traced a picture of a flaming chalice in the sand with her finger. Then she wrote the motto underneath it. It gave me the strength to live each day, she said. Whenever she drew the chalice in the dirt, she reminded herself of our central belief. Every single person is important and should be free to think and believe as he or she chooses. This symbolism remains even more important today. Today, the flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalist groups worldwide, and the chalice lighting has become a cherished part of our service. Please accept this chalice in the spirit in which it is given. Use it to create community, find and create its meaning for you, and always remember, we must work for justice.
Unfortunately, the actual chalices we wanted to present them with are on back order. So you get lapel pins instead. Please stand as you are willing and able, and join us for our litany of covenant, and then remain standing for our closing song, our extinguishing of the chalice, and our benediction.
If you are a youth who would like to join other youth in sending off these two, you are welcome to join Rachel and I as we stand up front as well.
We stand here together to honor and celebrate the contributions of youth and young adults to our church. You who are bridging today have grown beyond what you once were. With each new day and each new experience, you learn more about yourself, your world, and your faith. Your past will serve you well on your journey. We gather here today to honor you at this transformative time of your life.
For the rich individual gifts of your soul, we welcome you. For the hopes you bring and the anxieties you share, we welcome you. As you join the young adult community, we give you our blessing, that you may find among us friendship and support, yearning and joy, that you may grow in mind and spirit and body, forever our friends. We honor you at this moment of time.
We wish for you a storm or two, that you may enjoy the calm. We wish for you tranquility in time of trial. We wish you a cool breeze on a warm day and pale white clouds, that you may better appreciate the blueness of the sky. We wish you darkness, that you may see the stars. We wish you anticipation of high adventure, and we wish you the courage to avoid battle. We wish you a sense of wonder and poetry and music. We wish you companionship, that you may appreciate solitude. We wish you a friend who will understand you in understanding, so that you may have a friend. We wish you may become all you wish to be and more than you hope that you can be. We wish you a flower to smell, a hand to touch, a voice to cheer, a heart to gladden. And we wish you someone to love, as we all love you.
For your fresh vision and inspiring energy, we welcome you. For your questions and challenges, we welcome you. As you join the adult community, we give you our blessing, that you may find us allies as well as friends, that you may grow in mind and spirit and body, forever our friends. We honor you at this transformative time.
Eric and Parker, this is where our official bridging ceremony comes to an end. I invite you to rejoin the congregation as adults.
And now will all of you please join in singing Come Sing a Song with Me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Just a reminder, after the benediction, please stay standing as we extinguish the chalice and sing shalom. Our benediction today comes from Maddie Stepank, a young American poet. Keep all special thoughts and memories for lifetimes to come. Share these keepsakes with others to inspire hope and build from the past, which can bridge to the future.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.